All right, in this video, I'm simply focusing on how to generate meshes or assets on top of other meshes. For example, I have this pyramid and I want to spawn, let's say, plants on top of the mesh, right? Now, am I going to only just show you how to spawn the meshes themselves, but I'm also going to try to show you how you can apply different filters to get different patterns on top of your object, like I'm showing you here. Obviously, I'm doing it on the ground. I'm doing it on this pyramid object. And also, if you come over to this building, you'll notice that I've generated plants on the bottom portion, and then I've generated these kind of signage, cyberpunk objects on top of this block to make it kind of look like this weird background building. Now, another really cool thing you could do is the objects that you spawn on the mesh, you can bake out just like you're seeing here. So you could just apply it as a mesh. You can see right here, it's a mesh, and I could just drag it and drop it, and it stands alone without depending on the pyramid or any object that you've used to spawn it. Also apply meshes and decals on top of one another, right? So it's not just, adding plants or adding any asset you find. You can also apply decals and then combine them together like I'm showing you over here. So you got this emitting object on top of this weird kind of decal on top of the pyramid object. And I find this kind of cool because as an architect, I try to think about different ways I can use PCG to help me think about ideas on the fly. I might not cover everything in this one video, so I'm gonna have to break it down into 3 videos. In this video, I'll show you specifically how to generate this pyramid with the striated patterns. Now, the assets that I'm using, I will provide a link in the description below so you can kind of follow along. Okay, first things first, if you want to use PCG, you have to go to the edit, plugins, and you have to type PCG, which is procedural content generation. And you want to make sure you have procedural content generation framework turned on, but you also need procedural content generation framework geometry script interlope. That's going to allow us to use our mesh sampling node. Now, this is going to force you to restart Unreal Engine if you don't already have these installed. Once you've set that up and you've come back to Unreal Engine, all you need to do is drop an object. So in my case, I'm going to go to meshes. I'm going to go ahead and find a pyramid object just like this. All right, so I've dropped in this pyramid object simply by dragging it and scaling it down. What we're going to want to do from here is create our first node. So I'll go back to content. You should probably create a folder called PCG. So I'll create a new folder, PCG. Okay, in here, you want to right click, go to PCG and PCG Graph, create an empty graph and call it, I'm going to call it mesh 1. You call it whatever you want, double click to open it. Now you'll get a separate window like this. Now, if you've seen any of my other PCG videos, you've kind of seen me use splines and the landscape object itself to generate assets using PCG. But here I want to show you how to use a mesh, obviously. So what you're going to need to do is 2 things. One, you're going to need a right click here and type mesh sampler. Okay. That is where you're going to input this information about this object, but you also need to locate the object itself. So I'll explain that more. So we'll go get actor data. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to identify the specific object, which is this one right here located in the world. This mesh sampler is going to identify this specific model, but it's not going to know this specific object that's in here. Okay. In mesh sampler, when I click it, you have a static mesh that you can select. Obviously, you can kind of drop down and pick it. I'm just going to drag it from my content browser and I'm just going to drop it over here. Okay. So that knows specifically this object from the content browser, but doesn't know the actual pyramid in our level. Here in get actor data, that's what that's going to do. It's going to help us identify this specific one. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use a tag on the pyramid and a tag over here to kind of filter it out. So if I go to action filter or actor filter, you want to go to all world actors. And then from here, there is selecting by tag. And you want to kind of select the tag. Now, we don't have a tag associated with it. I'm going to name it in a second. I'm just going to call it, let's see, I'm going to call it T1 randomly. I don't know why, triangle 1. I have no idea. T1 it is. Okay, and then you want to change the mode from parse actor component to get a single point. You just need a single point. Do not do the other one. You may have to make sure you have to do get single point. Okay, and from here, you have to go and click your pyramid. Okay, so in your pyramid object, you see that I have selected here an outliner, and you just have to come up to search and type tag. That's going to be the quickest way to find this. And you want to go to actors and you want to add a tag right here by clicking the plus sign and calling it T1. That's exactly what I called it. It is lowercase, capital sensitive, so you have to write exactly how you wrote it in the PCG node. I click out of it, click back in to make sure that for sure it is still associated with that tag. Sometimes, it doesn't save. I don't know why. All right. At this point, we got the initial setup all in, but one important thing that I've got to do is actually apply this mesh PCG into the scene. So this mesh 1 has to be dropped in. That's the volume. So if I go ahead and drop that, and you'll see if I turn on my gizmos, that box right here This one right here represents, if I move it up and down, that is this mesh PCG volume. So we need that, otherwise you will not see anything. Okay, so I need to put that in there. So now that we got the PCG volume in the scene, we got our mesh sampler set up, we got our actor data set up. What we're gonna need is a copy points. So copy points, all right. And so I'm gonna put this in here. Now I'm gonna need a bounds modifier before I go into source. Reason being is if I put this in here and I debug, press D, you won't see any points because they're very, very, very tiny. So we're gonna need a bounds modifier to kind of expand that. So let's add a bounds modifier right here. And what that's gonna do is going to increase the size of the points. So if that goes in, that goes out right there. And then I debug this now. And you probably won't see anything still. If I zoom in here, there's nothing that's showing up. Okay, so if I go to bounds modifier, now I move this up to, let's just say, I don't know, 100, okay? 100. Now you start to see the points. Now, one thing I noticed, the distribution of the nodes is very odd. And the reason being is because in the mesh sampler, we've set the sampling method to 1 point per triangle. And depending on the mesh that you have to kind of be aware of this, that the distribution of the triangles, unless it's like really distributed well, it's going to be pretty random like this is showing. So now when I go to lit wireframe, you'll see that the triangle distribution on this mesh, you know, sometimes you have very big triangles and you get literally 1 point where the triangle is and where it's subdivided a lot, like where kind of these nooks and crannies are. There's a lot of triangulation, so that's why you see more points. Now, I'm gonna go back to lit. Now, to fix that or to adjust it, if you go up to sampling method and the drop down, go to Poisson sampling. I'll literally say poison, man, I cannot pronounce this. Poisson sampling, okay? Go to that and you'll notice that it becomes very, very solid, okay? Now, the reason being is there's too many points now. If you come down to Poisson sampling, you go to sampling and then right here where it says 10, you're gonna have to change this, okay? Now, if you go from 1 to 100, the bigger you make it, the smaller the sample count or the size gets, okay? So that's 100. If I wanna make it like 200, you'll see it gets sparser and sparser, okay? This really just depends on what you plan to apply on here. Like if it's plants, maybe this is a pretty good distribution. If it's like an object, like a sign, like I showed in the other object, then that's probably gonna be a problem because you're gonna have like 10,000 signs on this thing. So that's controlling it. You're gonna have control in the sampling area, okay? And then the bounds modifier, again, if I kind of adjust the size of this, let's make it 200. You know, the nodes get bigger, but this doesn't really matter. I'm gonna go back to 100. The next step would be the kind of the funner part, the part where you get to decide how you want to distribute these points and filter them out. Right now, if I go ahead and add a static mesh spawner and select something, okay, so now I'm not going to connect it yet. I just want to show you what's going on over here. Over here, I'm going to go down to where it says mesh entries, the add element, hit that plus sign, go down to descriptor, and then I need to expand this a little bit. Down in static mesh, over here, you could select an object. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and pick something from my sci-fi materials. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag over, I don't know, this object. And then I'm gonna go ahead and connect the out of the points into the in. You end up getting this container object just covering the entire pyramid object with no cool pattern or anything, right? It's very different than this example where you have the grass growing on top of the pyramid in this kind of striated pattern. And I'm gonna show you how to do something like this, okay? So what we're gonna search for is something called spatial noise. So we're gonna disconnect the static mesh and we're going to connect the spatial noise from copy points to spatial noise. Now I'm gonna undebug this, debug this. Okay, for the most part, it looks exactly the same. The only difference is it's not super white. In the details over here, you're gonna go to contrast, bump this up a little bit, say 50. Okay, so here you can kind of see that you got a pattern going on from very, very white to very, very black. Okay, and this is gonna be used to kind of filter things out that are white versus black. There's a whole range from 0 to 1. And the grays are somewhere between that. Okay, so they might be like 0.4, 0.5, depending on the gray color. And we're gonna use that to filter out things. So let me just show you real quickly what that means, then I'll show you how to change the parameters. Now, if I type in and look for density filter, I'll use this, connect it in here. I'll debug this, okay, and then I'll debug this one. And you'll notice that the range is lower bound of 0.5 to 1. What that means is it's taking the lightest half and keeping them, and it's deleting everything that's 0.4 or 0.5 under. Okay, so the 0.4 to 0 is the dark stuff. So if I invert this, for example, you'll see that's the stuff that was filtered out before, because this is the range from 0 to 0.4. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I just wanted to show you what that means, just so you know where we're going with this. And obviously if I connect this in here, you'll notice that when I click invert, it's just kind of filtering out the range. Now, this is just a controlled method. This spatial noise is a noise pattern that we can use to create a certain pattern. That's why we're doing this. I just wanted to kind of make sense before I kind of show you the different parameters that we're gonna adjust right now, just so you understand what's going on here, okay? So I'm gonna disconnect this, come back, debug that, clicking D to debug. Okay, the target value is density, cool, that's what we want. Now we'll go to transform. You have to kind of click this triangle, you'll get the expansion of the parameters here, and you wanna go to scale. Now, if I move this up to 10, for example, you'll notice that the pattern changed. Now, what I want to do to make this very clear for you is increase the density count. So I'm going to go back to Mesh Sampler. You don't need to do this. I'm just going to do this so I can demonstrate a point. Go to the poison sampling, as I like to call it, because I don't know how to pronounce it. Drop this down. Okay, I'm going to drop it down to 50. And now you can really understand the pattern, okay? So now you get this striation pattern because there's more points now. So you can understand the pattern that's happening right now. So if I go ahead and connect the density filter, I'm going to debug that off, turn this on. You'll notice that because it's inverted, because we kept inverted on, you only see the lower half. I turn that on. And that's a really cool way of getting patterns. Okay, now the issue is if I connect static mesh right now, you're going to get like tons and tons of that battery thing. And I'm not about to do that because that might crash my computer. So I'm not going to do that. Let's go back to this. Sorry, I'm debugging and between nodes a lot, I'm sorry. We go back to spatial noise. If I go back to transform, scale, now if I change this to 20, what ends up happening, you kind of get this irregular form, you get this curve happening, which is kind of cool. All right, so you can go ahead and play around with this. Let's bump this up to 50. So there's all types of patterns you can get, but what I had before was a straight line. This is not a straight line. This is kind of random and chaotic, and maybe you like that. Maybe that's what you want to do. But if you want it to be more straight lined, I'm gonna drop this back to 10, drop that back to, let's say 1. Okay, so you notice that this is getting a more simpler language. Drop that down to 5, okay. Let's go back to 10, just so you see what's going on. Now you get this kind of curve and a gradation, but by bumping it up to 100, it feels more like pure striations, okay. So that's that. If you move this up to 20, you start to kind of distort the striation. So what I had before is exactly 100, 1, and 1. Okay, so that's that. Hopefully that makes sense. Now if I turn this off, turn that on, you can see that it is exactly what we had before, something very similar. Next, we want a static mesh spawner of, let's say, plants. I mean, I could connect this, right? And that's really killing my computer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and disconnect that. It's just spawning a lot of them, right? Because we wanted this striate pattern. So what I'm going to do is just use a different object. So if I go up to mesh entries, go to index 0, and go down to this object, I'm going to change this into a plant object or plant mesh. So if I go to my fab megascans, so I'm just using something from the fab store. This is the quixel megascan plants that I have available to me. I don't know what you have, but I'm sure you can find some free plants. I'm just going to move this over to static mesh, and we're probably going to need to transform, because if I apply this, turn off the debug, you'll notice that, all right, and it looks like it didn't work, but I don't think that's the case. If you zoom in, they're very, very, very small. So you just have to be aware of that. What you're gonna need is a transform points. So I put that in here. I'm gonna unconnect that, connect this in here, connect this back in here. There's gonna be no difference that you see, but if once I click this, I wanna go to my scale min and max, and I'm just gonna move this up to, I'm just gonna test something like 4, okay? The min, I'm gonna move it up to like 3, right? So it's starting to kind of be visible, all right? So we probably wanna go higher than that. So just go up to like 9 and 7, okay? So now it's visible, right? We see it from a distance. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You're gonna want some variation to this. It kind of looks very static and stupid. So you're just gonna wanna go into rotation here. I'm just gonna add, I don't know, like 10 degrees to everything, maybe more than that. So what this is gonna do is just gonna make it look like it's not just copy pasted. There's a little bit of variation in its rotation. You start to lose some of the kind of the straight lines, the straight edges on the striation, but that's okay. It's probably more realistic. I mean, the corners aren't perfect, but they are good enough. The last thing I want to show you how to do is how do you get this to be independent from the object? Because if I select this object right here and I move it, the plants are going to move with it, right? And so what I want to do is I want to get it to be independent. So to get this mesh to be baked out independently from the PCG graph and the actual pyramid object, what you want to do is select the PCG volume, which is right here, right? It's this mesh one. We place this in. This is what we were just in a second ago. And you're just going to come up to actors. Okay. And you can go down to merge actors and just merge. Okay. And then you name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name it object one. I'm just going to place it in the general kind of content folder. Click save. Now this is going to probably take a while to do. Okay, so it's done. It's this object one. I mean, it just has this placeholder image for now. This is the old one I made that I showed you earlier. So if I just drag this out, it might crash my computer, but we'll see. But this is it, independent from PCG. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. In the next video, I'll cover how to use height as a way to filter out zones to spawn on a mesh. For example, I can spawn these signs on the top part of this object, and at the bottom, do this kind of like sparsing of plants at the bottom half. So literally filtering which objects go where depending on the height of an object. All right, in the final video, I'll be showing you how to use the mesh sampler to generate decals and meshes together on top of a overall mesh like this pyramid over here. And this is kind of like the funnest one, to be honest. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.